And we are live. So today I'm actually really excited about this episode. I'm always excited about the guests that we have on, but I'm excited because we connected like a week ago.
Yeah.
I put out a call in the junk removal groups, asked, who should I have on the podcast? I've had some awesome guests recently, and you jumped in. Taylor, my guest, jumped in. I'll introduce him here shortly. But then he sent me this video, which was hilarious, about explaining a little bit about his story. So I'm excited. This is going to be a good conversation. So, guys, welcome Taylor to the podcast. Taylor Chastain of Up and Away Junk Removal. We're going to have a good chat here. But Taylor, if you want to just give people a quick idea of who you are, where you are, maybe start with where you are, and then we'll get into some of the who you are. But just give people a quick intro on you, and I'll share this out to a few of the groups too to get some engagement there.
Sweet. So thank you so much for having me on, Lewis. I'm really excited to get to do this. First of all, I love podcasts. I'm a podcast junkie. I imagine that's probably why you are getting to have success in this sort of field because, as you know, as a junk man, you can't make money. This is not totally true, but it feels like you can't make money unless you're in the truck. Of course, the people who learn how to make money out of the truck are the ones that really, seem to have a really good time with it. But all of that to say is spending years and years of my life in the truck, podcasts were like everything I listened to because as much as I like music, I am a musician and everything, like it just gets old after a while. So having new content and taking that found time and learning something to me was way more beneficial than just being entertained while I drove around for 10 hours.
For sure.
So I really am really glad to be on. I'm based out of Atlanta, North Atlanta. The city we're based in is called Kennesaw. And there's really about 5 cities all right here next to each other that constitute right around 1 million people. And that's outside of the Atlanta city limits. And so I've just been hauling trash around here for a long time. And we can get into how I got into it and how the business grew and all that sort of stuff, a little later. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
I love it, man. Yeah, no, I was actually chatting with William Bird earlier this week, and he said you guys have talked a few times back and forth and collaborate. So it's pretty cool to see that all happen.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so we are live. We're live on Facebook. It's on YouTube as well. So I'm going to see comments as they come in. So if anybody's watching and wants to ask questions or just engage with the podcast as it's being recorded live, if you're listening to it after, obviously you can engage with us. But we already have a comment here saying someone said they went to Kennesaw State. So
let's see. Oh, they went to Kennesaw State. Well, it'd be great if I knew who it was.
Yeah,
to be fair,
inside the group, so sometimes it masks the name.
Oh, nice. To be fair, I probably wouldn't know them anyways because Kennesaw State has gotten huge. But yeah, I went to Kennesaw State as well. I actually have a degree in psychology. So I went a pretty different route than I feel like most junk hauling people go. And so, yeah, my background is in psychology. I worked at a church for 5 years in student children's ministry, and then also doing community outreach work, doing community events, trying to help people. And so that really has been the focus of my life so far. I'm not that old, so I don't know how to say focus of my life if I mean that for like forever. But I really think that helping people, that's the thing that drives me. I just happen to be big enough and strong enough to be able to help people by moving junk, and so that's what I'm doing. And I really enjoy that. I think it's a really special thing we get to do for people because it's something that most people can't. They would have no idea how to approach it on their own. Whereas when I come in and say, "Hey, we just did 10,000 pounds out of your house," they go, "Oh my gosh, how could you ever have done that?" I'm like, took like 6 hours. It was great. That's just another day on the job for us.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's Brandon, he just commented. I appreciate you commenting, Brandon. So it's Brandon. He's down your area too with a power washing company. So that's exciting.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
Appreciate you popping in, Brandon. So you to bring people up on like exactly where you are right now, you are like newly fatherhooded. Like you've just joined the ranks, right?
Yeah, 15 days in, and she's still alive. My wife is still alive. We're still married, so everything really is going well. Can't complain.
Can't ask for much more than that.
Yeah.
Can't ask for much more than that. I love it. So let's go back to let's kind of recap that video you sent me because I thought it was hilarious and I was excited because I knew this would be a fun conversation. But where did this all start? What you just mentioned you have a degree in psychology. Why junk hauling? How did this all come about?
Right. So for me, it all started because my dad is an entrepreneur. My dad has never had a W-2 a day in his life, which you're Canadian. So maybe W-2 doesn't mean anything to you, but it means he hasn't had, he's never worked for anybody. He's always worked for himself.
Yeah.
And so I was like, man, I really want to be like my dad. My dad's my hero. I'm very thankful to, as the older I've gotten, my dad has become more my hero and not less. Because for most men, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
And so I'm very thankful for that. And so starting really at 15 years old, I figured the last thing I want to do is have to go sling fast food. So I started teaching guitar lessons. I've got a wall of guitars right here, and that's my whole jam. Started doing that. That took me 4 hours a week, so I figured I got more time. So I started doing landscaping on the side. I quickly found out that landscaping is terrible. I mean, it's just not any fun at all, especially when you find out that you're allergic to grass. I had no clue. And so I would go cut a yard.
That's not good at all.
Oh, dude, I would cut a yard. I would hop in my truck. I'd break out in hives, and I'd go to the next job. And I was like, this is terrible. So anyways, one of my landscape clients called me up, said, hey, Taylor, we just got our toilets redid. Can you take these 4 toilets from our house, put them in your truck, take them to the dump? We'll give you $20, and the $20 will pay your dump fee, and it'll buy you lunch. And 17-year-old Taylor is like, I'm already going to be at your house cutting grass. Sign me up for that. And so loaded them up, rolled over to the dump for the very first time in my life, pulled up in there, backed in, threw the toilets on the ground, and boom, they shattered. And my immediate thought was, whoa, that was fun. And my second thought was, I bet I could get paid for that. And so for me, man, it's been junk hauling ever since then. I finished out that season with the clients, which here in Georgia, I mean, the landscape season lasts until November because we don't have real winters here. Our winter is like somebody left the fridge door open, and that's all you get. And so I just toughed it out to November. I didn't want to leave anyone high and dry. But after that was 2014. After that, it has been all junk hauling. For a long time, I just did it as a side gig, just trying to make some money in college, make some money while I was working at the church, because Lord knows you don't make any money working at the church. And so, I did that. And then really just kind of all word of mouth, not a lot of strategy. I had to go through a branding change because I realized my old brand was never going to be anything ever.
What was your old brand, or do you want to leave that in the past?
Oh, no, it's Chastain junk hauling. It just doesn't mean anything.
Gotcha.
If I tell you Chastain junk hauling, you're like, oh, it's just another guy who has a truck and whatever. But I realized, one, I can't sell that because nobody's ever going to buy Chastain junk hauling. Two, when I say the words Chastain junk hauling, it doesn't mean anything to anybody other than he's a trash man. And so, in 2019, I totally rebranded, came up with Up and Away, and I realized, as soon as you say Up and Away, automatically there's kind of that superhero kind of theme going on in the back of your head. Exactly. And I figured that meshes really well with junk hauling. I came up with wrong side. I came up with a cute little brand or whatever. I paid a buddy $50 to do my logo for me, and we were off to the races. And so,
so who prompted you to do the change? Was that something that you kind of realized as you got into it, or is it something that someone prompted you to do?
No, I realized it on my own. I mean, I remember I got the idea for Up and Away in the shower because I feel like that's where ideas always happen.
I concur.
Exactly, because you're not distracted. You're just like sitting there with nothing to do. And so, so Up and Away, I just realized, okay, if I really want to make a shot at having a business instead of having a job, I need to start acting like someone with a business instead of acting like someone with a job. Mm-hmm. And somebody with a job, it really matters that their name is on it. Somebody with a business doesn't care what you call it as long as it pays them at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And so I realized
that's a mic drop moment right there. No, I'm serious because I talk to so many people who it's a job, and this is something as a business owner myself. Like we've got the junk removal business, but the main gig is marketing, and I know how to do all this stuff, but I can't scale the business. I can't truly serve more people. Like our mission is to help as many people as possible. So same as you've got to step back and have systems. You've got to have people that do it. and you've got to think like a business owner, not like an employee who's paying themselves and carrying all the stress and everything too. So guys, like if you're listening, guys and girls, like take this away and just like go and implement that, because that's something I'm working through right now, actually.
Well, and let me encourage you, because it is really hard. And I stayed in the truck for a long time, and I mean, and I'm still on the fence where if one or two people get sick, I'm back in the truck. So I'm not saying that I've made it, but what I am saying is it is way worth it if your goal is to run a business and not just have a job. If your goal is to have a job and to just make some money, that is okay. That's totally fine. It's okay to have a job running junk. And honestly, there are some upsides to it. Like if it's myself and a helper in a truck, we can do 8 to 10 jobs a day. My crews most of the time can't do 8 to 10 jobs a day unless they're just little quick ones. It just doesn't work that way. And so there are advantages, but really the long-term strategy is to grow a business and not just have a job.
That's huge. Yeah, I took that side journey there. I know you're going to head into talking about going on from 2019 and everything. But so you rebranded, and what was that a hard thing to do? Were you just kind of going? When did you kind of go full time into this?
Sure. So it wasn't too hard because most of what I was doing was word of mouth, anyways, and so it was still like, we're just going to call Taylor. It doesn't matter what he calls his company, yeah. And so it wasn't too hard. And that was summer of 2019, and I still was part time. So I was about 20 to 30 hours a week in the junk business, and I was about 30 hours a week at the church. But what I liked was as projects came in at the church, I could chill the junk business out for a week. And as things slowed down at the church, I could just ratchet it up, and it was no big deal. Summer of 2020 is when I actually made the jump into really full-time doing junk hauling. I quit working at the church through a couple of different things there. But basically, they kind of gave me the ultimatum because they wanted a full-time staff at the church. And they just said, you either need to be full-time and quit the junk hauling business. And for them, full-time was 45 hours a week. So I was like, first of all, what else am I going to do the rest of the time? But second of all, I was like, I can't live. I had just gotten married. I was like, I can't live on what I'm making at the church, but I can live on what I'm making junk hauling. And so, so that with a couple other factors, for me, it really opened my eyes to the fact that I could help people anywhere I was. I realized that during COVID, I prayed with more people on their driveways and in their garages than I prayed with them at church.
That's cool.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, I mean, if my goal is really to help people and take care of people, there's no reason that my title has to be the defining factor of that. Why wouldn't my actions just be the defining factor of how well I'm taking care of people?
That's cool. That's amazing, man. That's awesome. So you get, so you kind of go full time. And what was the journey after that? Like, was it you and a helper still part time? Like when you were part time, did you ever have anybody helping you? Because some jobs are pretty hard to do by yourself.
Yeah. So when I was part time, I had people helping me a lot, and most of the time it was just pulling in buddies and whoever I could find. And so most of the time I had a helper with me. Most of the time it was like my roommate or whoever was around. But then, so starting April of 2020, I knew I was going to be going full time. So I started ramping it up then. But I had some commitments with the church, and so July of 2020 is when I was finally full time in. By it was either August or September, I made my first full time hire. That's a big jump.
That is.
If it's especially when you make your first full time hire that's like a W-2 person, and you got to start thinking about like workers' comp, and you got to start thinking about like, okay, this guy's married. He wants to have a kid. He's got to put food on the table for his family. Like, it's a lot different than just having a couple of 1099s that you kind of skirt under the radar, and you say, oh, you have your own workers' comp, right? And everyone goes wink, wink, and that's it. So that was either September, October, I don't remember. November, I bought him a truck, and we started picking up some more helpers. And then fast forward to now, we're up to 2 trucks, 4 trailers. And we're about to add another one actually. And we've got 5 guys in the field, 1 lady in the office, and then myself, keeping the show running. And so, we're not a crazy huge team, but we pretty consistently do 85 to 100 jobs a month, and we're able to take care of a lot of people. And by the end of the year, I think we'll consistently be at 3 trucks running full time.
That's phenomenal, man. So now we get to the questions that everybody's asking, in the groups, in the conversations with myself. as you scaled up, you went, obviously, word of mouth was strong. People believed in you, but as you scaled up, you had to get more jobs coming through. How did you scale up because you were getting more jobs coming through, or did you have to kind of pay attention to the fact that, hey, we need a really steady situation of jobs coming through?
Yeah, no, I definitely had to work for it. I mean, I'm thankful that it has been rare that there has been ever more than a couple of days where I was like, dang, we don't have any jobs, because that's a really bad feeling, especially when you have a payroll and it's more than just you. It still hurts when it's just you, but it just like extra hurts when you have a payroll. And so I'm very thankful that it has been not that much. Truly, when it comes to the way my faith has grown as a business owner, there totally have been nights where I'm like, God, I don't have any work. You got to help me out. My guy's got to work. And boom, the next day I get 10 calls and I'll book 8 of them and we're good. But during that process, ramping it up, it was really, for me, it's always been about networking, because realizing, getting out there and communicating, hey, I'm here to help. I'm here to help people. I'm here to help out, whether in a business capacity. We also, one of our core values is open-handedness, basically meaning service. And so every time I go to a networking event, I'm involved in all the business association chambers. I do closed networking, open networking, all the stuff. And but if I find an organization that's a nonprofit or whatever, I tell them, hey, we have hours set aside where if you need muscle, we've got it, and we'll give it to you for free. And I set aside profits to be able to pay my guys to go volunteer. And so, like every Thanksgiving, like last Thanksgiving, we moved 10,000 pounds of food for somebody, for an organization that was providing food to 1,000 families in our county here. And so we just dedicated a trailer. And sometimes that's the advantage of having an enclosed trailer. You're not really going to run junk jobs in it, but you can do lots of other beneficial things. And so, yeah, we do stuff like that, but really growing the network through those things, and then starting to ramp up. Pardon?
Can you hold the ramp up thought? Can you get specific for people? What is networking? Because I understand it, because it's one of my favorite things to do. Like we're networking right now. And there's Chamber of Commerce, there's BNI groups. What specifically can someone do who's listening if they're like, I hear networking all the time, I hate talking to people. I think networking is a lot easier when you like talking to people. But what can people specifically do to connect with people and show value instead of just, hey, I'm desperate for junk jobs?
Yeah, that's what I always try to do. Is my quote unquote pitch is always about how can I help you achieve your goals. So, for instance, I was at a networking lunch before this for the West Cobb County Business Association. Cobb County is our main county that we work in. And I ran into a realtor there, and every junk man ever goes, ha, realtor, because we're like, yeah, we want to work for those guys. But immediately what I started talking to him about was, I said, yeah, do you know that the biggest hindrance, the biggest thing that sells a property before anybody ever sees it is what? The photos. Okay, obviously. Good photos make all the difference. Well, a photo with junk in it will hurt the listing more than a photo showing the defects of the house. Because at least if a photo shows the defects of the house, the buyer knows exactly what they're getting into. When all you see is a photo of a room and it's full of junk, the buyer has no idea what the house looks like under the junk. And so they're just going to pass. They don't even want to go see it. And so what I said to him is, I said, have you experienced this where you have people who say, oh, just take the photos anyways, and you're holding your nose doing it, and then the house doesn't get what it really should? I said, yeah, man, absolutely. I said, dude, I would love to help you make more money and get more money out of the house. I just solved his problem. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. I didn't ask him for work. All I did was solve his problem of making his listing the best listing it can be and getting the most money for his clients, and therefore him, because he works on commission.
Yeah.
So that, the business networking associations and the chamber events, a lot of those are open networking. What open networking is, it means anybody can turn up, and it's just a free for all. You talk to who you talk to, and so be it. I like those. Those are great. I think junk hauling is can particularly benefit from those, because the level of trust that is required to hire a junk hauling crew is very low. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, the junk will be gone. No matter who you hire, pretty much.
There's a lot of ways you can really mess up a junk removal job.
Absolutely. There's a lot of ways you can mess it up. But for the most part, even if somebody doesn't text when they're on the way, they don't give a confirmation, they show up 2 hours late, their truck is totally thrashed, everybody's got holes in their outfits, they talk where you can't understand them, whatever, they can still probably remove the junk.
Yeah.
And especially if the junk's like in the garage, they can probably do it without hurting anything. And so it's like the bar is super low.
Yeah.
And so what I do, like I was sitting there today and somebody said, "Hey, you want to go ahead and get a seat?" I said, "Actually, I don't. I always sit down last at these events." They're like, "Why? Don't you want to get the food?" I said, "No." I said, "I want to walk up and down the food line and make sure I talk to everybody. While everybody else is preoccupied with food, I'm trying to figure out who I can help."
I love
And
it.
so, that's open networking. Closed networking is something like BNI. Do you guys have that in Canada?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. I know it's all over, America. We have a group here in Atlanta, specifically to this region called Power Core that's similar to it. And there's plenty of other closed networking groups, but that's where you have one seat per category. I've gotten a lot of business out of that. I've been doing that. I did it on and off for a while back when I was part-time, and then I've been in it now for about a year, and it has been huge. I mean, there's months where where that 1.5 hours a week is 10 to 15% of my monthly sales.
Wow.
And so it's awesome. I highly recommend that someone get in there. As a junk hauling person, the top one or two objections I get is I have to be there every week. Yeah, you do have to be there every week. Something's ringing. Is that me or you? Oh, hang on. Worky's in the background. I thought I got all the things.
No
But yeah, a big objection is number one, I have to be there every week. What if I have to be on a job? Okay. Well, if you're at a business networking association, you should be thinking, okay, I'm building a business. I'm not building a job. So you either find somebody else or you schedule the job for a different time. Cool. The other thing is a lot of these have rules about how you do things, how you say things. You have to go to a continuing education class or any of these kind of things. You say, like, I know how to talk about junk. Why do I need to jump all through all these hoops? It's not about the hoops. It's about showing that you can play by the rules. Because if you can prove that you can play by the rules, your credibility goes way up in the eyes of everybody else in the group. A great example is we've got a lady in a group that I'm in who runs a digital marketing agency. And she's been in PowerCore for 15 years. Okay.
Wow.
And oh yes. And same group, same team, same group, 15 years. She does a lot of business out of PowerCore. And so when somebody shows up for 3 weeks and then says, "Oh, I haven't even talked to her. She hasn't sent me any leads yet." Well, of course not. She doesn't know she doesn't, know who's sticking around or who's flying through. She doesn't know who to trust or not to trust. And she is the cornerstone of that team. She's not going to stick her reputation on somebody she's only known for 3 weeks. So it really does, involve, playing the game by the rules, showing up, being consistent, answering your phone, returning every call, returning every email, and being a trustworthy, reliable person, even in the small things, because then that opens the door to the big things. That's a biblical principle, right? Whoever's entrusted with little will then be trusted with much.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a long-term game. I love that you laid that out about, it's not about all the stuff you have to do. It's what you get to do to show people that you are, you're part of the team. You're there to play by the rules. You're going to provide the service that they expect when they need it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then I'd say beyond that, where you start blurring the lines between networking and marketing is Facebook. Facebook blurs that line. And it's a good blur because Facebook's the perfect place for both. And so do I run Facebook ads? Yes. Do I post in groups? Yes. Do I interact in groups? All the time. Do I use Marketplace? Sometimes it can be kind of sketchy, but we do the dumpster rental thing. And so that's easy enough to advertise. And that's both. The biggest thing is if you know that a client has found you through a Facebook group, is instead of saying, "Hey, can I have your Google review?" Because you should have a system asking everyone for the Google review. We've got 200 and something Google reviews right now, and I've only been collecting them for a year. And so, you should have a system that's automatically churning that out. But then if you know somebody came from X, Y, and Z group, then you should say, "Hey, I know you found me off that group. You're going to get an auto link to the Google. Feel free to ignore that. Instead, could you just go back onto that group and write a little post? Here, let's take a selfie together. Okay, I'll text that to you. Will you just post that? That would go a long way." And then you're using your networking skills on what is otherwise more or less a marketing platform, aside from commenting in groups. And that to me is a great mashup.
I love that. Guys, that is another, the BNI, that little tip, like there's so much power. We were talking just briefly off air, like there's so much power in getting the social support when someone in those groups is saying, hey, I've got, you know, a big need, you know, my realtor left me. We've run into a few deals where like realtors and lawyers and everything left them with, you know, a bum end of a deal, and they had this massive clean out, and we got tagged like 10 times. That goes a long way. Not even if you don't get that one job, everyone else who's searching for junk removal in the group later or happens to come across it, they see you, and there's a little like touch there. You know, it's one of your 22 touches that you need to make with a person before they know, like, and trust you, right? So that's huge. I love
Absolutely. That. Absolutely. And those situations where, especially, you know, when somebody has been done wrong and you're the person that comes in and does it right, tell that story, man. Yeah. I get that at least once a month, where I'll put in a quote and they'll say, oh, you know, I found somebody cheaper. And because Atlanta is like a super saturated market when it comes to junk hauling.
Yeah.
And so I found somebody cheaper. I said, no problem. I always say, just let me know if I can help you in the future. I mean, no big deal. People say no to quotes all the time. And at least once a month, somebody comes back to me and says, we found a cheaper guy. He never showed up. And so we're just going to hire you so we don't have to worry about it. I literally just got an apartment complex clean out on that exact strategy. And when I came out there to requote it, because it was a month in between, to make sure everything looked the same, he said, hey, can we also sign up for a contract to just have you come every month? Bingo. Yep. Just got to be reliable, and you got to prove it over time.
Yeah, that's massive. That's cool. Yeah, and the you mentioned about writing up, you know, taking advantage of if you are coming in to help someone. Talk about your stories, guys. Talk about your. I had Paul Watsano on there a week and a half ago, and he talked about, you know, telling the stories. Tell the stories about the people you help. Say, you know, don't be afraid to say, hey, these people, we went out and quoted them. They said they were going to go with someone else. Those people didn't show up. This is up and away. This is how we do it, right? In Taylor's case, or whatever your business name is, do that. We did the same thing with the community kitchens here. So we reached out to them because we're really looking to. We're in a fairly small market, so community is big, right? So like Habitat for Humanity, we work with them. The community kitchen, and we got them to write up a little thing about us and link back to our website. You know, from a digital marketing perspective, getting people to link back to your website is a big deal. So we actually wrote the article and said, here, do you mind just posting this on your site and linking back to us? One, you know, for a link, but also if people need stuff hauled to the community kitchen, give us a call. You know, and that was kind of the angle of the story that we wrote. But it's entirely around building up your business, and don't be afraid to tell people how awesome you are, because you are awesome, right? You're doing a job and you're going to do it well every time. So tell people that. So that's awesome, Taylor. I really appreciate you sharing that.
Absolutely. I think you're totally right, man. Share the stories, share them all. I mean, I've even remember we had one job that went wrong, quote unquote. We were moving an armoire down a flight of stairs. My guys were not thinking, and they let the dolly drag. Well, guess what happened to the stairs? Okay. Well, this is a $1.7 million house that's about to go on the market. So that is not cool. Within 72 hours, I had my flooring guy out there. They did a full sand and refinish on the stairs. Wow. I paid for it. The client was super happy. I got my 5-star review. And so, because I called her up afterwards, I said, I know this didn't go exactly how you thought it would, but given everything that happened, do you think you got 5 out of 5 service? She said, absolutely. Guess what? She's on my schedule for Monday or for Tuesday.
That's amazing.
We're going to be back out there and see her. I just posted that whole thing on Facebook. I was just like, here's what happened. I didn't. I used it in my Power Core group. Said, here's what happened. Job went wrong. Here's how it was handled. Job went right. Got a 5-star review. Just tell the story.
Yeah.
People understand stories.
We're humans. Yeah. And sharing the fact that you are human. If you only share the good stuff, people are going to wonder, like, are they human? Are they actually sharing everything? So that's key. So I kind of cut you off there because I wanted to pivot into the networking stuff. You said, and then you were ramping up. I would imagine you were ramping up like advertising and stuff like that is what you're going into, maybe?
Yeah. And so ramping up advertising was the next thing. And there's still plenty for me to work on. Like one of the things I'm working on now is doing blog content, getting links back through to my website and stuff like that. Nice. So I'm actually working on that a lot. But another one's been starting to put actual marketing budget into I do a little bit of print. What I like about print is it's something to remember when you see it on your Facebook.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, yeah, but am I going to pay $500 for a magazine a month for that? It's like, well, sure, but that magazine could be, in front of 25,000 eyeballs. And so you're at like 1.6 cents per eyeball or per set of eyeballs. And that's actually not bad money at all, especially when you consider normally you're paying between 3 and 4 cents an eyeball for Facebook.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, well, you're already running all these Facebook campaigns. You just like it better because when the jobs slow down, you can turn it off because you're scared, which I get it. I've been scared, but the last thing to do when you're scared is to quit marketing.
Yeah.
Then how are you going to get the jobs? And so, but yeah, so ramping up that, getting the website going. My website is not the awesomest yet. It functions, but it's not very optimized. And so that's on my to-do list for the next couple of months. And I've been learning a lot more about that. And it's not a bad idea to go ahead.
So you're running, guys, like I'm all about websites. That's our zone of genius, websites and SEO and stuff. But I'm also so keen on people doing all the stuff we've been talking about before. You've run your business and built your business on relationships. And at the end of the day, that's what matters. Yes, websites can bring in more leads and Google Ads and SEO, but the relationships that you form with those people then turn into future clients, turn into referrals, the relationships I love this. I think this is a perfect example of how you can build a business multiple ways. And then you start bringing it all together like you're doing now with, bringing the digital stuff together. You're about to light it up.
Right. Well, and that really has been, I was talking about this. So my dad is a business consultant. That's what he does now. So he's got over 40,000 consulting hours under his belt. And a lot of those companies are home service companies.
Yeah.
Whether it be flooring, landscape, whatever. He does a lot of manufacturing and stuff like that as well. He's done the commercial agriculture and all of that. He's basically a CFO for hire. And so it's awesome having my dad in my corner.
Your pocket, the pocket CFO, right?
Yeah, I don't even have to pay him, and he makes like a crap ton of money per hour, but I don't have to pay him. It's awesome.
You pay him by being his son.
Exactly. Yeah, I just gave him a grandkid, so he's pretty pumped about that.
There you go.
Yeah, but that's what we talked about. Is it's because, as you well know, it is easy for the SEO rabbit hole to be a very expensive rabbit hole.
Yeah,
and it probably, it should be, because it is a huge door that can be swung wide open. If you're not careful, but it could also be a big old door that, like in Star Wars, when the Rancor comes out and the Luke drops the gate, it could be that door if you're not careful. You got to really be precise about who you work with. That's why somebody like you is excellent.
Yeah, no, it's scary. I was just talking to someone who, he posted in the group, so he's pretty open about the thing. But they basically are at their wits' end because they've not had any results from what they were paying for. So it's crazy to see that. Back to the print thing, though. I'm going to give you a little tip here. If you haven't checked out Dope Marketing, David Carroll, I've had him on my podcast before, so I definitely recommend listening to that. But they do print marketing, so they can do flyers, they can do postcards, all of that stuff, and they can do it really, really localized to your neighborhood. They can also do thank you letters that are handwritten by a robot, but it's handwritten with an actual pen. And so you can just crank out automated thank you letters and everything to that. So if you're getting into the print side, definitely recommend checking that stuff out.
You said Gulp, Gulp?
Dope, like the drug, DOP.
Oh.
He actually, dope has double meaning. Like, that's dope, man. But he actually was in the drug scene, so he's played that as something that has built him to who he is today. So it's
hilarious, dude. That's awesome. Yeah, I will check that out because I love that kind of thing. But yeah, what I really try to do is I try to lean into what works. And so, what I realize when I'm looking at my lead reports for every week and every month, I look at them, I say, okay, where's all this stuff coming from? One of my best lead generators is a local sanitation company, because we're independent sanitation out here. It's a local sanitation company that they don't do dumpsters, they don't do junk removal, they run garbage trucks. That's all they do. And so for 6 years, I've been their guy for anything that their clients say, hey, can y'all handle this? And the answer is no. I've been their guy. I normally am doing between 5 and 10 jobs a month just from them.
That's phenomenal.
It's awesome, and obviously, something like that is so easy in the fact that, I take them over Christmas gifts and I'll do stuff for their guys and things like that. But they're not charging me money per lead. It's all about, here's a good guy who can take great care of our customers, who loves this community and wants to serve it. And so we're connected through that bond. And I send anybody who wants weekly sanitation, I send them exactly to them. I have no interest in growing into that business.
Yeah.
they also do pine straw, and so I, send them to them as well. And now somebody's going to go try and poach them because there's only one company that does pine straw and trash around here. But no,
What is pine straw? I'm not familiar with that. Is it like the needles, picking up the needles?
Nice. Yeah, that was a very Canadian thing of you. So especially in the South, it's all pine trees all the time.
Yeah.
And but it's literally just the pine needles, but we use it as people put down like mulch and stuff.
Yeah.
We just use it instead of mulch. Honestly, it's stupid and I hate it. I don't have it in my yard, but I deliver it for clients all the time because if they like it, then whatever.
Gotcha. Yeah, that was very Canadian of me, which I'll lean into that.
Yeah, it's great, man. It's awesome.
No, cool.
I can be a political junkie too, so I was gonna try and talk to you about all that, and then I figured let's just let it be.
Well, I'll pull on my I'm actually a dual citizen, so I was born.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was born in New Hampshire, and we moved up when I was 3. So it
cool.
I still am a dual citizen. So maybe we'll see which side of the border I end up on when all this blows over.
Well, if you ever need to come home, brother, just come on home. No big deal.
There you go.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what's your you talked a little bit earlier about looking to have a third truck, but what is your 3-year plan, 2-year plan? What are you looking to do? Just to kind of inspire some people in the group here.
Exactly. So, I think the number one thing for me that I still struggle with, but I'm really trying to grow in, is what we were even talking about a little bit today, is the whole idea of losers focus on winners and winners focus on winning. Mm-hmm. It is so easy to see what somebody else is doing and to be like, dang, I should be there. I should be past there. I should be better than that. And I struggle with that. And I mean, you could ask my wife, like, I see somebody doing well. And on the one hand, I'm like, congratulations, that's awesome. Because I fully believe that there's plenty of garbage to go around. I mean, that's not an issue. Anybody who's been to a landfill once can tell you that. But on the other hand, it's hard if you see somebody younger than you doing more trucks, doing more revenue, doing things like that. You're like, dang it, I need to be there. But what I've really tried to focus on is growing what I have and growing in the way that has been working for me. Uh-huh. And so I try to grow with minimal debt. I'll only take out debt for assets, uh-huh. Meaning pretty much equipment. Yeah. That's about it. I'm not looking for an SBA loan. I'm not trying to dump $100,000 into marketing over 3 years and then pay back my $300,000 loan. I'm not trying to do that kind of stuff. Partially because I'm not trying to be under any money that can't be immediately recovered. Sure. If you buy a dump trailer on a loan, you can turn around and sell that dump trailer for more than you bought it for any day of the week. Yeah. I mean, that is almost always the case unless you thrash it. And so, a dump trailer loan is not a big deal. Eventually we'll be getting into the big trucks like what JRA makes, like the 1-800 trucks. Yeah. The reason we don't now is almost all of our work is suburban. And so we just truly don't need to get into tight spots that much. Yeah. And so I'm like, if I don't have to get into tight spots that much, I don't want to have to lift to dock height. I like being able to throw extra tools in the back of the truck and just roll. I like being able to pull scrap metal aside. I don't make a lot of money on scrap metal, but I would prefer to recycle if I can help it. And so that just makes it easy when you got a truck bed, you just throw it all in there, whatever. That's not for everybody. That's not everybody's system, but it works for me. So continuing to grow in a little bit of the conservative way that I have, I think realistically, even without some massive cash influx, I think we're going to be at between 7 and 9 trucks in 3 years. I think we're going to be servicing all of Metro Atlanta. My goal is to have at least 2 or 3 different offices across the city with GMs for each region. And so my gut tells me is it's going to be probably 3 to 4 trucks around our main region, and then 1 to 2 trucks servicing. In Atlanta, you have Atlanta, the city. The south side of Atlanta is not quite as populated, and so it'd be easy to do 1 in the city, 1 in the south side, and then there's 2 big cities or 2 big areas, northeast and northwest. Yeah. And so, approaching to at least 3 of those 4 kind of areas would be great. And then developing the brand to a point where it's more than something that is really genuinely recognizable all across the city. My goal from there in 5 to 10 years is to start expanding to other cities, mostly in the South for now, that are demographically similar, South or Well, I'll just say the South. I mean, all the way up to Texas, but Texas all the way up the East Coast and things like that.
You
That's
don't
the
want to deal
goal.
with the crazy winters up here?
I do not.
Yeah.
Nope. I really like winter personally, but I don't want to fool with that. And
Not for business, because it definitely does slow down for us. I mean, we've done a lot of interior demo work over the winter, but it does change the dynamic considerably.
Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
So I want to respect your time. I'm just wondering if it sounds like you've had a pretty decent trajectory here as you built this up. What is like the worst thing that's happened to you in business?
The worst thing, I'm thankful nothing that bad has happened yet.
Amazing.
I was literally having that conversation yesterday of like, the only wreck in a company vehicle I've ever had, I was driving. It was after hours. I have one of my trucks has personal use on it. So it was like, and we were going less than 30 miles an hour combined together. So it was like no big deal. So I'm really thankful for that. We've had some jobs that have gone really sideways. I think might be something fun to talk about. We always talk about pricing in the groups. Always. All the time. Incessantly is probably it's kind of brutal. But look, I don't mind it for the exact story I'm about to share. Because when I was first really getting the ball rolling, I had a realtor who called me for her father's property. Her father was a greatest generation kind of guy, lived through the Depression, fought in World War II. I mean, he was 88 years old when we were cleaning out his house. And he was being moved to assisted living just because he couldn't do stairs anymore. That was it. I mean, he's still just killing it.
Yeah.
But growing up in the Depression era, he kept everything. And so I went out there and looked at the house, looked at the barn, quoted it. And I was not smart about how I quoted things back then. I just said, it's just going to be $1,200 and we're going to handle this whole thing for you. No contingencies, no, load quotas, no weight quotas, no time.
I heard the word barn in there. So there's contingencies for sure.
Yeah. And there would be now, spoiler alert, this would have been like a $4,500 project now. But basically I ended up doing 13,000 pounds over the course of a day and a half. We were told that we would have access to the property through the neighbor's driveway. He came out and ran us off because apparently the homeowner didn't actually talk to them and just assumed it would be okay, which is another lesson I've learned, is to get everything in writing when it comes to something like that. And he literally said, if you would have asked permission ahead of time, I would have said yes. But since you're here now without permission, get off my property.
Which is fair, I guess.
Which is fair, but it's also pretty annoying.
For the situation you were in.
Yeah, and the problem is, 13,000 pounds is not that much. I mean, I've done 24,000 pounds in one day before, and it was like no big deal. But it was 13,000 pounds out of a barn in the back of the property around a pool with no near access, and all of it was little stuff. I mean, a jar of spray paint nozzles. I mean, buckets and buckets and buckets and buckets of nails, cinder blocks lining all the fence. With probably 1,500, 2,000 pounds of lumber in the rafters. I mean, just under everywhere, under every shelf, every nook and cranny was stuff. And when it was all said and done, I made $72 on that job.
Oof.
Dude, it hurt so bad. Oof. I was furious. I mean, and I am a pretty chill guy. Like, nothing really rattles me, but I was furious. And I was too scared to ask for more money, which is something I also am not anymore. But since I didn't have any contingencies, I felt like I didn't have a leg to stand on.
Like it would be dishonest or whatever the case may be at the time, right? Yeah.
Yep. So I literally, but what I did do is I attempted to guilt them. So I told them how much I spent in dump fees. I told them what I spent in fuel, and I told them how much I paid the guys. And so they did the math and they knew what I made. That doesn't account. That's not profit. $72 is what I made as the employee who makes whatever is left over. This is before
your wife out to a nice dinner.
Dude, it was brutal. Now, I mean, granted, this was like 4 years ago, so I've learned a lot since then.
Yeah, that's a good lesson, though. That's a really good lesson.
Absolutely. And then the other one is making sure you charge enough for when things get really stinky. We've done jobs before where we go in. We have had a client who's has had accumulated a lot of stuff over the years, and it's dealing with toilet fixtures that don't work. And when toilet fixtures don't work, people don't stop going to the bathroom. And so while we would not deal with anything explicitly biohazardous, you never know what's in every trash bag you're moving. Uh-huh. And so, being smart enough to charge a little extra for that and adding some contingencies and paying the guys extra for that sort of thing. And then doing the demo work as well. We do interior and exterior demo, anything not structural in a house, and then obviously like sheds and stuff, whatever, you just knock them down and take them away. But sometimes we had a demo project a couple weeks ago go just really terribly. We still made plenty of money, but it just was a big old suck fest. We were taking up parquet flooring. You familiar with that?
Yes, yeah. That's not fun.
Well, it's okay when it's put down the right way, because normally it goes down on like that rat trap sticky glue and you just kind of pop it.
Yeah.
Well, this one, the homeowner put in parquet herself and used regular engineered hardwood glue on it. And so literally we're taking the hammer guns, and you could either get the top level of the parquet or you could take the subfloor, but the glue just wasn't an option. And so for about 500 square feet, it literally took us 10.5 man hours.
Wow.
With a hammer gun.
Yeah.
Like with tools.
That's brutal.
It was awful.
That's brutal. Well, guys, I know I want to respect Taylor's time. This has been fun. I hope everyone has enjoyed it. This will be out on the platforms as well. If you didn't catch it here, it'll be on all your favorite podcast platforms. Taylor, massively appreciate you coming on. Enjoyed our chat. Is there anything you would leave with, new or old or anywhere in between junk owners, and then we'll wrap it up and just wrap up off here quickly?
Absolutely. The biggest things for me, number one, is take care of people. I mean, and even if it means you've got a nasty client who's in your face, doesn't matter. Take care of them. Don't walk off the job. Just be a bigger man, be a bigger woman, and just handle the problem. Because a good name is more valuable than riches or gold, right? That's what Proverbs says, and it's true. And then don't be afraid to take the leap. There's always a leap that's coming. As a business owner, the first big leap is hiring your first full-time employee. The next big leap is what it feels like is giving your business over to a CRM, giving your business over to a software. It feels terrible because you're like, I want this all to be mine. And I mean, I'd be lying if I said that I still didn't get a report with our customer list every month, because I have my admin pull it for me just in case, right? But don't be afraid to take the leap. Get as much good counseling and information and people around you as you can, and then make the leap. If you want to grow, you're never going to do it by tiptoeing. No,
you got to jump in. I love it. That is a phenomenal finish up. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the stories anywhere from the toilet people. I just thought that was funny when you sent it over. So guys, this is Taylor. You can get in touch with him through the website. Don't harass him too much about pricing, but I've seen him in the groups, and he definitely jumps in. So really appreciate it, Taylor. We'll wrap up here. Just stick around for a second, and we'll chat briefly before we've got to run.
Absolutely, man. Thanks so much for sharing your time with me and sharing the platform, and I very much enjoyed it.
Likewise.